Adam Chase, welcome back to Chad TV.
What's up, dude? Glad to be here.
Week 7.
Week 7,
How
I'm
are
here.
you today?
Super good, super busy. Absolutely zero complaints about that. We're rolling.
All right, bet. So before we dive into anything else, tell us what happened the last 7 days.
So the last 7 days, I have to say, I have no idea. I really don't. I don't. Last time we came in here, we just came in off a huge win, signed a brand new client. We had a couple stupid things happen this week. Nothing worth mentioning. Just like stupid sales calls where we did everything right. People just lied. Yeah, man. I don't know. Honestly, nothing. Like, I think that over the last handful of days, I've sat on my computer and stared into the screen and did meaningful work in longer periods than ever before. So the things that happened were in the digital world. I set a bunch of shit up. That's not worth mentioning. It's not worth talking about. So nothing, externally happened. I didn't really leave the house.
So productivity's going up.
Yeah, digital productivity. I think so. Reeks like cigarettes in here and I'm coughing now.
Yeah, it's my fault.
All right, so what we did on my interview was we dove a little bit into an anecdote of pretty much what life looks like.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, I guess, prior to really like trying to change my situation in 2020. I think it'd be cool to hear how you feel like. What's a good way to ask this question?
So DeLuca just talks about how he came up, like had to start changing himself in 2020. What you went through kind of like a phase where you graduated high school, go to college, drop out, change to different college, do like a music engineering degree instead of like a regular undergraduate degree. Like, do you think there was like any sort of odd period in your life like that you went through or anything that you had to change, like stuff like that?
I think what would be a good one to talk about too is like, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I guess it was, but it doesn't seem like it was. Like 2 years ago, where you pretty much almost, went back to school after like us doing all this shit. You almost went to be an accountant or be a state trooper, and then like you just fucking full sent it. I think that was probably a pivotal period.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
All right. That's a lot. That's a lot of shit.
Pick one.
No. I'm gonna go through it very concisely and very quickly. So exactly what happened was, you can go all the way back to when I met this guy here, and I had my whole
He's pointing
young
at Boyack, by
yeah,
the way.
I am. Yeah, my young adulthood. But listen, I'm pointing to him off camera because I'm about to go into it. So young adulthood, whatever. Get into whatever I got into. Not worth mentioning here. As soon as I left, I was locked. As soon as I left high school, I'm locked in with this guy here, Anthony, and we were dead set on making it as musicians and hip hop producers and whatever the fuck we thought was going to work. And I was committed with him to put it, like, we put in the work. We really put in the work. We treated it like a job. We worked shitty part-time jobs. I went to school at a college for a semester for fucking psychology, and I immediately dropped out because I started failing a bunch of my classes. But I wasn't smart enough, and I didn't have the guidance in life to get into entrepreneurship. It was like, God bless my family and everything, but they're like, well, you got to go to school. And I'm like, no, I don't know. They're like, well, all right, you have to at least go to community college. So I caved and I went for a engineering degree because I was like, oh, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be a producer. I'm going to be an engineer in hip hop, and I'm going to make it big. So long story short, we committed so hard to that. We learned the work ethic, at least. We were completely retarded. Our lives were pretty much a mess outside of that. However, we stayed off drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't really do anything degenerate at all. But I was just sitting at a computer, essentially, like you could say, wasting my life. From the outside, it would seem that way. But I had a, very, very loving, gorgeous girlfriend. That I still have. I had good family. And again, I never went off the rails and completely made a mess of my life. I just was really putting in a lot of work on something interesting. We'll say that. Okay. Not a lot of translatable skills outside of that, outside of the mental things you learn. But that's actually the most important thing. So, you know, we come out of that. It was 2018. We committed to that in the summer. We were dabbling for 2 years beforehand. But from 2018 up until about 2020, about 2.5 years, we realized we got to a point where like, well, this, you know, we're kind of at a crossroads here. Like nothing's happening. We don't know what's going on. We don't have any outside help, no mentorship, very few connections. We had like 1 or 2 minor connections that weren't going to really do anything for us. So we're like, well, we're fucked, basically. We need to do something else. And then Anthony got into personal development and like figuring out how to level up his character if he actually wanted to get anything done in life. So as he started that, we took a break from working together on things. We were still friends, but we weren't locked in on building a business or trying to be artists anymore. So I almost gave up because I realized like, well, I fucking canned out on the college route, on the 9-to-5 route. I have no useful skills to make money. Like you don't make money as an audio engineer. And I had no entrepreneurial skills at all. I didn't know how to go find work for myself, even if I wanted to. So I started door dashing, and I actually had a friend, thank God, shout out to Nate, he's, you know, almost 10 years older than me. So he's got a lot more life experience and he's a hustler. So he put me on to how to actually like make money with a hustle like that. So I went from being completely retarded to I was making like $4,000 a month DoorDash at about 70% profit. So, you know, I felt pretty good because I had low expenses. That's
Dude, tell them the DoorDash house.
You go on 3 apps, you stack the apps. And I mean, he was even crazier than me. Nate, he'd stack fucking Instacart and like random other shit too. Like, but I was just, you do Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats, and you run all 3 at once, and you run multiple offers, kind of like Ryan Wilson calendar stacking. You run multiple offers at once. So you always had, actually exactly like Ryan, but you run multiple offers. So you always have orders coming in. And you kind of fuck over some people because their food's getting cold in the back. But
That's retarded.
you know, I was able to get like
Hustling.
I was getting like $30 an hour at peak time, which is crazy. If you know, like
Yeah.
my alternative to that was like way less.
True.
And I was hustling on eBay a lot and shit like that. But I just knew nothing. I knew so little. I had zero access to information, zero consciousness for how to find it. Complete retarded. Absolutely fucked. So yeah, that's basically what happened. So at that point, you know, I was never a pussy and I always had perspective. So I knew like, well, I'm fucked. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to give up. Like, you know, I'm still so young. What I'm going to do is I am probably going to have to go back to school and like just fucking go get some kind of high paying job because I'm smart and I'm not on drugs. And I keep saying that because I think so many people actually make a mess of their lives with that shit. If I tell this story, nobody who knows me would think this, but people who don't know would think like, oh, this guy was probably on drugs. Not the case at all. I was very sharp, just focused on the wrong things.
Can I add something in?
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
still
it's like-
going.
You said we were doing music and it was kind of like not transferable skills, but I always saw it as like a shield because if you knew me and Adam and you knew all of Adam, like a lot of other people we used to hang out with, a lot of them are fine now, they're doing great, but a lot of them had that period with drugs.
Yeah, I was around a very interesting group of friends where we like weren't total rejects at all. We were actually like really popular and shit, but we were fucking crazy. I had a bunch of shot friends and I love them, but you know, I narrowly avoided that. Like my best friend that I went to school with did like 3 rehab stints like for heroin. So, you know, that was not with my main friend group. That was with other affiliates he had. But like I was very close to that vicinity. So I got very fortunate you know, to have like a clean head on my shoulders and not completely go down that path. And then honestly, most of my friends are fine. They just like to party a lot and they like to drink a lot, which is fucking, I think, normal for most people when you're like 20, 21. But yeah, it's not about, it's nothing with them. It was just like when me and him locked into music, I just didn't have time for anything else. So me and him we're like, well, we're trying to take this extremely seriously. So we gave up partying and I gave up, you know, going out and fucking around and having fun. And I had a solid, loyal girl who I still have so I'm like, I'm good. I could just chill on the weekends. I don't need to go out. I don't need to do anything. So me, you know, most people being social is great when you're young, right? You develop social skills. But for me, if I didn't have that shield, I probably would have ended up a fucking complete wreck because I was retarded. So yeah, I have to emphasize that a lot because as the story comes out more, as people start to care more, they'll see. But yeah. Anyway, so that was a shield. Me locking in on something, even if it was something stupid like music or whatever, that was a shield from turning my life into a train wreck. So as I come out of that, and like I said before I went on that tangent, I realized I might be fucked. I think I have to go back to school because I don't know how to make this work. And at this point, I was getting some freelancing gigs. I'd be getting paid $2,000 to $3,000 for like one day of work for a video. But it wasn't consistent. It was all referrals. I didn't know anything about sales or how to get leads. I didn't know what the word lead meant. True story. So I didn't understand how business worked at all, right? I just knew the value of the video and I knew that I could charge a lot for it. And it was worth it. No idea anything outside of that. So anyway, I know I can't DoorDash forever. I know I don't know how to do business. So I'm like, I think I have to go back to school. And I was always very militant and I was always into weightlifting and fitness. And I come from, you know, a military family and stuff. So I'm like, maybe I'll be a state trooper. They get paid well in Pennsylvania. So I'm like, I could definitely do that. You know, I'm not a pussy. So whatever. Maybe I have to risk my life. Maybe that's a little retarded. But then I decided to have a change of heart last minute because I was getting, you know, Anthony was going through personal development. We had this conversation a couple times and we were like, dude, I don't think we should give up on it yet. And Anthony actually was like, well, there's a way you could make a lot of money actually without having to go back to school. And I'm like, well, what is that? And he's like, well, I don't want to tell you. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, I just don't want to expose you to it if you're not ready. And I'm like, bro, come on, just tell me. So we went out to eat and he tells me about like high ticket sales. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck, man? You could have told me this, but no, I appreciated it. And I'm like, all right, I'll look into it. And he tells me to buy this course because he spent a shit ton of money on courses. So I buy this course and I start looking for high ticket sales and it's led me to here. I'm not going to go through that whole story now, but it was because of that I, you know, revisited doing my own thing, except now slightly less retarded, you know, definitely less retarded because now I have very successful friends. I'm starting to see a little bit of success. Our agency is gaining traction and I've just been exposed to so much. And I call it the process. And I've said this like 80 million times by now, but the word retard, I've unretarded myself. I'm starting that process of doing that. And it's about damn time because you start to meet people like 20 years old that are so far ahead of where I was even now, where I am now. And I just think about like, man, I had such a work ethic and drive, but my environment was so shitty and I didn't have access to right information or guidance. And if I had taken that work ethic and applied it 6 years ago when I was 19, that would have been insane. So, but I'm very fortunate that I started now because I can't imagine starting later. So that's that.
We'll wrap
Hell
up here.
yeah.
What's one lesson you feel like you could share from that experience to give somebody?
Man, I mean, listen, like, don't fucking get on drugs. Don't commit crimes. Don't do things that like don't get somebody pregnant if you don't plan on it. just I didn't do any of those things, and that's why I was able to rebound. And you could rebound from those things too. Wes Watson could go to jail for like 12 years and come out and then make it happen. But you're not Wes Watson, probably. He was already a millionaire before he went to jail because he was a hustler. He just, again, had the wrong vehicle. I had no results. I had zero money from what I went after, but I got a lot of lessons in just how to do your own fucking thing and as you say, like break out of the matrix. I totally was, I don't care what anybody thinks now because I already had my image tied into being a musician, which is interesting. So that lesson would have to be just like, don't irreversibly do damage. You could go down any path and recover. Your life is completely malleable like that. And as long as you don't give up, you can keep going. But even that, with that being said, you need to pretend like that's not true. And I truly believe in urgency for like, man, I don't fucking know anything. Have some urgency there and don't be arrogant and go find help. Get help. Call for help. That's it. If get what was the word you said? Something guidance?
Formal guidance.
Formal guidance. Yeah, get formal guidance on how to not be a fucking idiot. And you'll be in a really, really very happy spot if you listen and don't wreck your life with something else. So stay clean. Stay in school. That's it. That's all I got.
All right, bet. Good job, Adam.
Peace.